Hey guys, in this video we are going to look at the election of 1824, known as the corrupt bargain. So the election of 1824, James Monroe is the outgoing president, and we've got a four-way race for president in the Democratic Republican Party. But this race, this four-way race actually split the party into between two parties, the Democrats and the National Republicans. This is the start of the Democratic Party as we know it today that we have in the United States. The National Republicans, this is not the same Republican Party that we have in the United States today, but this is the same Democratic Party. In this race, John Quincy Adams won. He won in the House of Representatives, actually. And Andrew Jackson was really upset because he felt that Henry Clay stole the election from him. So what happened was, sorry, I didn't need to go on there. So what happens is, as you guys know, the United States has what's called the Electoral College. That's how we elect our president. And the Electoral College votes, in order to win, you have to win X amount of Electoral College votes. I can't exactly remember what it was at this time that you had, how many votes you had to win. Today you have to win 270. But anyway, in order to become elected president, you have to get a majority of the Electoral College votes. In this four-way presidential race, none of the candidates got a majority. John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Henry Clay, and I believe John C. Calhoun were all three running for president. I think John C. Calhoun was the fourth one. But none of these four candidates got a majority in the Electoral College. And so when you don't get a majority in the Electoral College, the presidential election is then decided by the House of Representatives. At this time, I believe Henry Clay, he bounced around from the House and the Senate quite a bit. At this point, he is still he is Speaker of the House again for the second time. And he uses his influence in the House of Representatives to convince everyone in the House of Representatives to support John Quincy Adams for president. This is because John Quincy Adams had promised Henry Clay that if he won, he would make Henry Clay his Secretary of State. So Henry Clay again used his influence in the House of Representatives, swayed everybody to support John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams ends up winning the election. Andrew Jackson loses. He has to take his ball and go home. And so he gets very upset, and he believes that Henry Clay stole the election from him. Because Henry Clay, he says, made a corrupt bargain to become Secretary of State in exchange for making John Quincy Adams President of the United States. So in the election of 1828, Andrew Jackson is out for revenge. He started throwing jabs at the National Republicans. This is kind of a dirty campaign. He says they're a party for the rich. Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams, they insulted each other endlessly. Super dirty campaign, but at the end of it, John Quincy Adams was known for not having a ton of personality and being kind of gruff and brusque. And Andrew Jackson really got people stirred up and made them, really inspired them. People felt like he related to them. And so he wins this election. So this gives birth, in this instance, Jackson becomes the first, quote, common man to become president of the United States. And so this gives birth to the idea of a Jacksonian democracy. And this is just the idea that common people, average Joes, should be in control of the government. And so this challenged the idea of that previously existed of a Jeffersonian democracy. And the Jeffersonian democracy was the idea that there was a higher set of standards for people who wanted to be in government. You had to be super smart. You had to be an expert in your field. You had to know a little bit more than, say, the average Joe does. There were higher expectations for you if you wanted to serve in government. You lived to a higher standard. You were held to a higher standard. You had to know more than somebody who didn't want to be in government. And so these two ideas were kind of competing. And so here's the question that I want you to think about as you're doing this lesson. What are the risks and benefits of a Jacksonian democracy? What are the risks and benefits of a Jeffersonian democracy? And then lastly, which one do you prefer and why do you prefer it? Just think about this as you're doing your lesson. I'm not going to ask you to report in on it or anything like that, but just think about it. Not necessarily a right or wrong answer, just something for you to reflect on. So guys, let me know if you need help with this lesson, and I'll be around to help you. So catch you guys around.